James Degale versus Chris Eubank Jr. It's official. It's on. The two British super middleweights will meet at the O2 Arena in London on February 23rd in a non-title bout. It will be screened live and exclusive on ITV Box Office. I just watched the press conference and a couple of the interviews afterwards. Both guys appear confident, as you would expect. They were talking about some sparring session they had back in the days and who really got the better of it, and some Facebook message that Eubank Jr. sent to James Degale back in the day. I think this was when they were both with Mick Hennessy, or when Eubank was with Mick Hennessy and Degale was with Frank Warren, and then Degale joined Hennessy and they were both with Hennessy. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the fight is on, and these are my thoughts on it. Eubank Jr. has, in my opinion, choked the past two times he stepped up to world class, and he hasn't performed to the best of his ability. That's not to say that Eubank Jr. doesn't have technical deficiencies. He does. But on top of the technical deficiencies, I'm also convinced from what I saw that the guy choked at the highest level. He froze. Early on in the Saunders fight, I think he froze. Same thing in the Groves fight. But that's not the only thing that happened. All right? So don't misquote me or misconstrue what I'm saying. Eubank Jr. was handled by George Groves on the inside. Groves was tying him up and not letting him work. And he was also, in my view, intimidated on the outside by Groves' power. George Groves won that fight by a comfortable margin on the scorecards, from what I remember. And certainly on my scorecard, he won it by a comfortable margin. His loss to Billy Joe Saunders was a hell of a lot closer. And one of the reasons I believe the Saunders fight was a lot closer than the Groves fight is because Saunders can't punch like Groves. Saunders didn't have a deterrent that was as effective as Groves had in that big right hand. He wasn't as physically strong. He wasn't able to wrap Eubank Jr. up on the inside as easily as Groves did. So with all that in mind, how will James Degale do against Chris Eubank Jr.? Degale, I would say, hits harder than Billy Joe Saunders, but nowhere near as hard as George Groves. He's a southpaw like Saunders, a slickster, longer arms, but I would say at this stage of his career, he's not as sharp as Saunders. He's, in the eyes of many people, shop-worn and potentially on his way down. But unless Eubank Jr. has improved technically a lot, then I see James Degale, unless, there's a lot of what-ifs in this fight. There's a lot of unknowns in this fight because we don't know for sure how washed up James Degale is, or at least I don't. I'm still unsure about how washed up he is or how over the hill he is. Do I believe he's at his peak at the moment? Hell no. But just how far gone is he? I didn't think his performance in the Truax rematch was that bad. There were some questionable tactics in there from James Degale in terms of his use of the head and stuff like that. Very questionable. But in terms of what he did from a technical point of view and a tactical point of view, I didn't think Degale boxed that bad. It was a tough fight and it was difficult for him. But if you look back at James Degale's career, he's always struggled with fighters who put the pressure on. So that's nothing new. Even a prime Degale did not like guys who would just walk him down behind a high guard. Now, as far as Eubank goes, can he replicate that Caleb Truax type style? Walking you down behind a high guard, using an educated jab, pressuring Degale. Can he do that? I don't think Eubank is as refined a pressure fighter as somebody like Caleb Truax. I'd probably pick Eubank to beat Truax. Styles make fights. But Truax does certain things, in my opinion, better than Eubank does, and vice versa. And one of the things I think Truax does better than Eubank is cut the ring off and pressure a fighter. I think Truax does that better. I think he's Pressure fighting skills are more refined. Eubank's a bit all over the place. His footwork's a bit all over the place when he's fighting on the front foot. On the back foot, Eubank looks way more polished than he does when he's coming forward. That's why Eubank has always looked at his best when he has pressure fight. You see, that's the interesting thing about these guys, is that Eubank Jr.'s strength is Degale's weakness, and vice versa. Because Eubank likes guys to pressure him. That's what he does best against. And Degale hates guys pressuring him. He prefers fighters who box him at long range, whereas Eubank hates when fighters box him at long range. One of the things that makes this very interesting. So, can Eubank come out of his comfort zone and apply effective pressure to James Degale to put him in what David Hay would call his uncomfort zone? Can Eubank Jr. do that? Because as I say, I haven't been particularly impressed with Eubank Jr.'s pressure fighting skills against Billy Joe or against George Groves. But if he can, how will James Degale cope with that? Remains to be seen. Does he have enough punching power to keep Chris Eubank Jr. honest? To intimidate him the way that George Groves did? Is it going to be third time lucky or third time's a charm for Eubank Jr. in terms of holding his nerve in a big fight and fighting to the best of his ability? Maybe it will. Losing twice, it does kind of take pressure off you the third time you step up. It's like, well, I can't be embarrassed. I've already been embarrassed twice. I know how that feels. So I'm still alive. I can go through it again. So sometimes that's what fighters need psychologically. Sounds weird saying it, but in order for them to develop, sometimes fighters actually need a loss. Not all fighters, some fighters, they need a loss in order to develop mentally and technically. Eubank Jr. says he's now working with a trainer from Las Vegas. He says he's pretty much been self-trained most of his career, but now he's got a dedicated trainer. And I don't know nothing about the guy. He did mention his name at a press conference. I'd never heard of him. But we'll see what he's taught Eubank and how Eubank looks in this fight. So I think it's a very good fight. I'm intrigued. I feel like James Degale, or even 80% of himself, should be enough for Chris, to defeat Chris Eubank Jr. Because I don't trust Chris Eubank Jr.'s ability at the highest level when it comes to performing to his best. I think that there is a weakness there in his mindset, in his mental makeup. I don't think he's as confident as his dad was as a fighter, and I'm not sure whether his dad realized that for several years. He seemed to assume that his son was cut from the same cloth as him and had the same level of innate confidence. And I don't think Eubank Jr. does. But confidence can be built over time. So let's see whether Eubank Jr. has gained any confidence from his losses and learned enough to avoid freezing in this particular fight. And to be fair, Groves was on a winning streak when he fought Eubank, and he was a world champion. Billy Joe Saunders was on a winning streak when he fought Eubank. James Degale, okay, he won his last fight, but prior to that, he lost. Ostensibly, James Degale seems to be far more on the decline to most people than Groves or Billy Joe seemed to most people when they fought Eubank. So that does have to be said. But the way the styles match up, if Degale's even 80%, 85%, I'd personally be picking him to win. Not just based on styles, but also the fact that I think Eubank has choked the last two times he stepped up. If Eubank really fights to the best of his ability, then he's got a very good chance of winning. But I just can't trust him to do that. So that's why it's a good fight, because there is a lot of questions to be answered for me. And I look forward to watching it. I'll be buying it. Oh, yes, I will. I'll be putting money in the pocket of Mr. Degale and Mr. Eubank by purchasing this fight. Oh, yes. Now, I'm not saying that all of you guys should. It's up to you. If you don't think this fight is worth it, don't purchase it. This fight is not an essential fight for the super middleweight division. This is not like Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. No, this is not a fight where either fighter has a whole heap of fanboys. James Degale don't have a massive amount of fans compared to a lot of other British fighters. And neither does Eubank Jr. He may have a lot of followers on social media, but followers are different than fans. A lot of the time on social media, people will follow you just to troll you and hate on you. As backward as that is, a lot of people do that. So neither of these two guys is the most loved fighter in Britain, but obviously they do have a certain amount of fans each. It's actually going to be interesting to see. I mean, I guess we won't find out because broadcasters normally don't publish these statistics, but it would be interesting to find out how well the pay-per-view does in terms of numbers for this fight, given the fact that neither man is, has ever been a favorite of the British public in general. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes, and it's going to be an interesting fight that I'm definitely looking forward to. So yeah, in terms of my prediction, I'll make one closer to the fight. Am I leaning one way at this particular point? Maybe slightly towards Degale, but Eubank Jr.'s freshness and to some degree youth, although he's only about, 3 years younger than Degale, I think. But he hasn't taken as much damage as Degale's taken in his career. And I'm open to the possibility that Eubank Jr. is still improving and we may not have seen the best of him yet. In which case, people picking him to win is not something I find ridiculous. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about this particular fight. I'm sure there's going to be lots of accusations of this person being deluded or the other person being deluded. And I'm not just talking about from the fighters themselves. I'm talking about from the public. There have been people, including Degale, who have said that Eubank Jr. is the most deluded fighter in boxing. But other people say James Degale's deluded. So, you think what you will. So let me know how you feel about this, people. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.